Ram is making the best looking trucks they have ever built right now. I will give them that. But if you offered me a loaded 2026 Ram or a beat-up 1997 Cummins with 300,000 miles on it, I am taking the old truck every single time, and you might agree with me. Number 1. From 1998 and a half to 2002, the 24-valve Cummins with the VP44 pump. I already know half of you just rolled your eyes. This is the Cummins generation that everybody loves to trash online. The VP44 injection pump is fragile, the forums are full of horror stories, and the forums will tell you to skip this generation entirely. But I personally think this is the most underrated Cummins Ram ever made. Here is why. The VP44 pump fails because the factory lift pump cannot keep up with fuel pressure demands. That is a known problem with a known fix. You install a proper aftermarket lift pump for a few $100, and suddenly you have a reliable truck with 245 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque that you bought for a fraction of what any other Cummins generation costs. I had a customer bring one into the shop 2 years ago with 260,000 miles on it. He had installed a lift pump at 50,000 miles and never touched the VP44. It was still on the original injection pump. Meanwhile, I have seen brand new 2026 trucks with dead batteries before the first oil change because a software update bricked the telematics module. Tell me which truck has the real problem, but the VP44 is not the only Ram that people sleep on. The next truck gets flat out ignored, and it might be the best deal on this whole list. Number 2. The second generation Ram with the 5.9-liter Magnum V8. Every Ram video on the internet is about Cummins this and Cummins that, and I get it. But there is a gas-powered Ram sitting right there in the lineup from 1994 to 2001 that nobody ever talks about. The 5.9 Magnum V8 makes 245 horsepower and 345 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough to tow a boat or a camper without paying diesel fuel prices. Parts are everywhere, and junkyards are full of these Magnum engines. You can rebuild the top end for a few $100s in your driveway on a Saturday afternoon. Try doing that with a Hurricane Twin Turbo Inline 6. I had a farmer bring one into my shop last year with 210,000 miles on it. He had never done anything except oil changes, brake pads, and a water pump. The engine was still running clean and pulling his cattle trailer up mountain roads every weekend without complaining. So why does nobody talk about this truck? These trucks are out there right now for $3,000 to $5,000 in decent shape, and they will run for another 200,000 miles without thinking twice. If you do not tow more than 8,000 pounds regularly, you do not need a diesel. I know that makes some of you angry, but your wallet will thank me. That Magnum V8 is a workhorse on a budget. But if you want a Ram that goes places no other full-size truck on the planet can follow, this next one is in a class by itself. Number 3. From 2005 to 2012, the Ram Power Wagon. If you watched my video on the best off-road trucks Ram ever built, you already know where I stand on the Power Wagon. This is the only full-size pickup truck in America with solid front and rear axles, electronic locking differentials on both axles, a disconnecting front sway bar, and a factory-worn winch tucked behind the front bumper. Every Power Wagon rolled off the line ready to crawl rocks with no option box to check. A 2026 Raptor or a ZR2 cannot match that hardware. They use independent front suspension, which rides better on the highway, but folds under serious rock crawling abuse. The Power Wagon does not care about your highway comfort. It was built to climb over things that would rip the front end off most trucks. The coil spring rear suspension gives it articulation that leaf spring trucks cannot touch, and the front suspension on the Power Wagon uses extra links at the axle for more flex than any other factory truck offers. Earlier models with the 6.4-liter Hemi 5.8 are sitting between $15,000 and $25,000 right now. That is an absurd amount of off-road truck for the money. The Power Wagon proved Ram could build the toughest off-road pickup in America, but none of that would exist without the truck that started everything almost 20 years earlier. Number 4. The 1989 to 1993 first-generation Cummins W250. This is the truck that literally saved Dodge from going under. In the late 80s, Dodge was getting crushed by Ford and GM in the truck market. They were desperate. So they went to Cummins and basically said, put your industrial diesel engine in our pickup and let us see what happens. What happened was the 5.9-liter 12-valve inline-six with 160 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque in a truck that weighed almost nothing by modern standards. Dodge could not keep these things on dealer lots. They had to stop taking orders because they could not build them fast enough. A man named Terry Binder from Wisconsin drove his 1989 Cummins Ram to 1.78 million miles, hauling flatbed trailers across the country. He only replaced 2 sets of ball joints and 2 exhaust systems in 15 years. He gave the truck away to a friend and bought a new one because he liked the newer seats better, not because anything was broken. Clean first-generation Cummins trucks are now selling on auction sites for over $35,000. 30-year-old work trucks going for new truck money. That tells you everything you need to know. The first-generation Cummins built a whole culture. One generation after it might be the single smartest used truck purchase you can make right now. Number 5. The 2003 to 2007 third-generation 5.9-liter Cummins with the CP3 pump. If someone walked into my shop tomorrow and said, Alex, what is the best all-around used Ram I can buy? This is the truck I would point them to. The third-generation 5.9 is the sweet spot of the entire Cummins lineup. You get common rail fuel injection with the CP3 pump, which is reliable and tuner-friendly. You get 305 to 325 horsepower depending on the year. You get up to 650 pound-feet of torque. And you get all of that without the diesel particulate filter, the exhaust gas recirculation system, the diesel exhaust fluid tank, and all the emissions equipment that started showing up in 2007 and a half. These trucks are modern enough to be comfortable daily drivers, but simple enough that you can still diagnose problems without plugging into a dealer computer. That combination does not exist anymore in any new truck at any price. The third-generation 5.9-liter engine is the quiet workhorse of this list. The next truck is the opposite of quiet in every possible way. Number 6. The 2004 to 2006 Ram SRT10. Dodge looked at their Ram 1500, then looked at the Viper sitting across the parking lot and asked, what if we just put that engine in the truck? And then they actually did it. The Ram SRT10 came with the 8.3-liter V10 from the Dodge Viper, making 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque. The regular cab with the 6-speed manual Tremec transmission ran 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds and hit a verified top speed of 154 miles per hour, which set a Guinness World Record for the fastest production pickup truck. That means a 5,000-pound truck kept up with the Corvette. A NASCAR driver set that record at the Daytona International Speedway in 2004. Only 10,046 of these were ever built across 3 years. Clean examples with low miles are selling for $50,000 to $80,000 on the collector market. up over 100% in the last 5 years. There is not a single 2026 Ram that will give you Viper power with a manual transmission and a truck bed. That combination died with this truck, and it is never coming back. The SRT10 proved a pickup could embarrass supercars on a drag strip. But there is one old Ram the diesel guys treat like a holy relic. Number 7. The 1994 to 1998 second generation P-Pump 12-valve Cummins. This is the one. If the 12-valve Cummins is a religion, the P-Pump second generation is the church. The Bosch P7100 mechanical injection pump on these trucks does not need a computer, does not need a laptop, and does not need a single electronic signal to deliver fuel. You adjust it with a wrench. That is not an exaggeration. The sled pulling community took this platform and pushed it past 2,500 horsepower using the same basic engine architecture. The 1996 to 1998 trucks with the 215 horsepower P7100 and the NV45005 speed manual transmission are the sought-after diesel trucks in existence. A clean one with reasonable miles will cost you more than a new Ram 2500 off the dealer lot. I rebuilt a P-Pump in my shop on a 1997 Ram 2500 last fall. I did not need a scan tool or a laptop, just hand tools and a timing pin. The truck fired right up, and the owner drove it home making 50 more horsepower than when he dropped it off. You cannot do that with any fuel system on a modern truck. I personally think the P-Pump 12-valve is the greatest diesel engine ever put in a consumer truck. You can argue with me in the comments, but you would be wrong. If you are still watching and you are into Ram trucks like I am, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I break down trucks like this every single week. Number 8. From 2010 to 2018, the 4th generation Ram with the 6.7-liter Cummins and the G56 6-speed manual is the last manual transmission diesel pickup truck you could order from the factory. Think about what that means. No manufacturer on earth will sell you a new diesel truck with a manual transmission anymore. It is completely gone. That model marked the end of the line, and the market knows it. A Laramie trim with the G56 manual regularly sells for from $10,000 to $30,000 more than the exact same truck with the automatic. Wrap your head around that. A used truck with a stick shift commanding a $30,000 premium because you cannot get the experience anywhere else. I worked on a 2015 Laramie with the manual last spring. Heated leather seats, a premium sound system, and a clutch pedal. The owner told me he gets offers on it every time he parks it at a truck meet. He is never selling it. I do not blame him one bit. That manual Cummins Laramie is a modern classic. But the truck I want to talk about next was already a legend before most of you were born. Number 9. The 1978 Dodge Lil Red Express. Before the Cummins era, before the Hemi era, Dodge built a truck that made every sports car in America look slow. In 1978, light trucks were exempt from the strict emissions regulations that were strangling car engines. Dodge grabbed a 360 cubic inch V8 from their police pursuit fleet, installed an aggressive camshaft borrowed from a 1968 340 cubic inch small block, bolted on an 850 CFM 4-barrel carburetor, added dual chrome exhaust stacks behind the cab, painted it canyon red with real oak wood paneling on the bed, and called it the Lil Red Express. They marketed it as part of their adult toys lineup, which is the most 70s thing I have ever heard. Car and Driver magazine tested it, and it was the fastest American vehicle they had measured from 0 to 100 miles per hour. Faster than the Corvette, faster than the Trans Am. A pickup truck with wood paneling on the sides was outrunning sports cars. Dodge only built 2,188 of them in 1978 before the government closed the loophole and forced catalytic converters onto the 1979 models. Good examples are selling for $25,000 to $60,000 today. This truck is the grandfather of every performance pickup that followed, and I think it still has more personality than anything sitting on a dealer lot right now. The Lil Red Express proved Dodge was never afraid to build something completely insane. But I saved the most unbelievable Ram truck story for last, and this one is hard to believe even when you see the numbers. Number 10. Howard Clayton's 2000 Dodge Ram 3500 Cummins dually. I saved this one for last because this is not just a legendary truck. This might be the most legendary pickup truck that has ever existed on Earth. Howard Clayton from Waterloo, Iowa, bought his Ram 3500 new and then proceeded to drive it 2.6 million miles on a single truck. He hauled equipment and drove up to 700 miles a day. His mechanic Forrest Cunningham kept the truck alive with synthetic oil, clean fuel, and a simple rule. If anything feels wrong, fix it now before it becomes expensive. At 1.7 million miles, the engine needed a head gasket. A few small oil leaks got patched up over the years. But the 5.9-liter Cummins kept running. Meanwhile, 2026 Ram owners are posting on forums about instrument clusters going blank from software errors and telematics modules that need replacement at 1,200 miles. Howard's truck had no telematics and no touchscreen. It had a Cummins inline 6 and an owner who cared. It drove the equivalent of going to the moon and back more than 5 times. If that does not prove old Ram trucks can destroy new ones, nothing will. Every truck on this list earned its spot, and the craziest part is you can still go out and buy most of them for less than the down payment on a new Ram. Now, if you want to know which Ram trucks are actually worth buying new, I made a video on the 10 most reliable Ram models you can buy right now. Some of them will surprise you, and a couple I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. You need to see that list before you sign anything at a dealership. I will see you over there.